Welcome everyone to MTG808Junior. This is Mike and I'm coming at you with another tournament recap video. Before we get into all the tournament details, just some things to go over. We do have our MTG808 WordPress, our website that has content and covers essentially our tournament recaps, as well as anything else in terms of the Oahu youth scene. We also have our Patreon. So big mahalos to our Patreon subscribers who help make the tournaments possible for our youth. So more information will be, the link to the Patreon and everything will be in the description below. Also, we have our Facebook, which we also keep you updated with our tournament dates and tournament recaps, as well as what's going on in our tournaments. And speaking of dates, here are the dates for our upcoming tournament. So we have everything set to our scholarship tournament. So our next one is March 14th over at the Planet. Big mahalo to the Planet Ohana for hosting. Then the following week we are at Westside Comics over in Aiea. We also have our next one at Minikyu. We're gonna be at the Mililani location on April 4th, and back at the Planet on April 11th. Then May 9th is our youth scholarship tournament. So as we get closer to the date, we will add more details. So it's essentially like all the scholarship tournaments before. $700 worth of scholarships online. First place gets $500. Second place gets $250. So as we get closer to the date, we will inform you of what's going on, because I believe there's another set that's coming out, Ikora. So that will be the first tournament where Ikora is Artisan legal. So without any further ado, let's get started. So our tournament, we were at the Planet. We had 6 players. Second tournament using Artisan, and we have our top 4. We have Liam running Orzhov tokens, Skyler running Is It Draw 2 or Improbable Alliance, Sydney coming in with Mono Red Aggro, and our winner of our of this tournament is Julian running Demir Sauce. So essentially it's like some sort of enchantment control deck. So all the deck text, all the links to it will be on the description. But let's look up Arena. Let's go through Arena to see what's going on. So going on to our first place, we're gonna look at Demir. Where is that deck? Demir. Oh, here we go. Demir Sauce, Julian. So this particular deck, this looks like a control deck, making use of Hateful Eidolon. Hateful Eidolon, 1 black for a 1/2 enchantment creature spirits lifelink. When an enchanted creature dies, you draw a card for each aura you control that was attached to it. So what's glorious about this deck is a lot of the removals are enchantments. So we have Dead Weight, 1 black for a enchantment aura, creature gets -2/-2, and Mire's Grasp, 1 black, 1 colorless for a aura, enchant creature gets -3/-3. So what he's doing is he is using these auras to enchant creatures on the opposing end, and if there's a resolved Eidolon out, he gets a card draw off of each creature that's destroyed. So that's some pretty cool stuff. We also have other removals in the form of Tyrant Scorn, Disruption in terms of Thought Erasure. Oh, excuse me. Cry the Canarium for board wipe. And we have Sinister Sabotage Counter Magic. We also have, in terms of card draw, we have Omen of the Sea and Thirst for Meaning. This is actually a pretty good card. Thirst for meaning you draw 3 cards, you discard 2 unless you discard an enchantment. So looking at this, you have quite a few enchantments. You have you can discard maybe a Omen of the Sea, Hateful Eidolon, Deadweight, or Mars Grasp. We also have another enchantment, Revenge of Ravens. 4 mana for enchantment. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, its controller loses 1 and you gain a life. So they're very good against the aggro decks. And we have Narset, Parter of Veils. Very good card. Each opponent can't draw more than 1 card. Minus, you look at the top 4 cards and you take a non-creature card and you put them into your hand. Creatures. The only creatures is Night Veil Predator. Very good in this format. Double blue, double black, Flying Death Touch, Hexproof. It's 3/3 along with the Hateful Eidolon. Mana base, running 4 Dismal Backwater, 10 islands, 9 swamps, and a Mystic Sanctuary. So overall, what I looking at the deck is actually pretty solid. Just seeing him turn through the deck, I feel like it has a lot of game. Let's see. And in terms of sideboard he has Duress, Inverted Invent. So I think he's using this more along the lines of the Big Butts deck. So in terms of the Big Butts, he's just switching the power of toughness of up to 2 target creatures. So a lot of the Big Butts creatures have 0 power. So with that, when you have Huatli or High Alert, it deals combat damage based off its toughness. So what this card is doing, it's just switching over the power and toughness. So essentially, it's another removal spell for 2 creatures. Only against that deck. It is very narrow, but it's a nice piece of removal for that particular deck. Aether Gust, to answer the red and green spells or anything that's resolved. 1 copy of Negate, 2 copies of Mystical Dispute. Very nice counter magic, especially against blue. Excuse me. Another copy of Narset, another copy of Cryocanarium, 1 copy of Ill-Gotten Inheritance, and another copy of Revenge of Ravens. Overall, it's a very solid deck. I like where this is going, and I look forward to seeing this put up more results. So congratulations to Julian, and we look forward to seeing him play more. Second place, we have Sydney with mono red aggro. So what this deck is trying to do, it's just this deck is just trying to go fast. You just put in you just put creatures and you essentially just turn them sideways and attack. We have 4 copies of Grim Initiate, 4 copies of Scorch Spitter, 4 copies of Tin Street Dodger, 4 copies of Rimrock Knight. So essentially what happens is when you attack with one of your early game creatures, you just use it for the Boulder Rush adventure ability. Then later in the game, you just cast it as a creature. You have Ember Hauler, double red for a 2/2. Sacrificing deals 2 damage to any target. So it's a burn spell later in the game for extra reach. We also have Annex. Annex is a really good addition to mono red. So it's legendary enchantment creature. Its power equal to your devotion to red. So for those of you who don't know what devotion is, if you look on the top, on the top right hand corner, you have the the mana cost. So if each colored mana symbol, it goes for the devotion. So for this creature, if it were to enter the battlefield with no other creatures, it is essentially a 2/3. So you have cards like Ember Hauler, it's a double red, which adds on to the power along with everything else. So all these 1 red, double red, it helps feed the power. And whenever Annex or another non-creature token you control dies, you create a 1/1 Satyr token. So essentially it's really good against board wipes. But for this if the creature's power is 4 or greater, you create 2 of those tokens. So late in the game, hopefully it doesn't go that far in the game, because it's red, you're just pretty much going as fast as you can. It's very good against board wipes or any sort of removal. Except for, I believe, Lava Coil, Scorching Dragonfire, anything with exile effects. So if it dies in exile, you do not get the tokens. We do have Rishkar. Your opponents can't gain life, so this is a really nice main board answer to anything with life gain, especially with the mono white Soul Brothers deck, as well as the black white life gain deck as well, as that's running around. In terms of non-creature spells, we have Infuriate. Target creature gets +3/+2 until end of turn. Shocks, just for extra reach, along with Skewer the Critics. This essentially is a 1-mana spell, because for the most part you have Scorch Spitter whenever it attacks. It does 1 damage to a player or planeswalker it's attacking. So you early in the game, you just hit them turn 2, you hit them for 1 off the ability, and you get another damage in. Then you can either Skewer the Critics for 3 or light up the stage. The Spectacle cost. So Spectacle is a mechanic in Ravnica Allegiance. What it does is when a player loses, whenever a player loses life, you pay for its reduced cost. Let's see, 17 mountains, 3 dwarven mines, very nice, especially late if you get late in the game, it just adds 1 a dwarf creature. Also, in terms of sideboard, we have Embreth's Shieldbreaker to destroy artifacts, Scorching Dragonfire to pretty much answer any opposing creatures or planeswalkers. 3 copies of Unchained Berserker to protection from white, and 2 more copies of Rishkar. So usually Sydney would be playing mono white aggro, so this is a nice switch up for her. It's still aggro, but I feel like this color change would be a benefit to her. So congratulations to Sydney making it second. And yeah. Coming in third, we have Skyler. Where is his deck? Is it Alliance? So this deck is a pretty sweet deck. So what this deck does, it revolves around Improbable Alliance. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you create a 1/1 blue fairy token. So you have card draw such as Opt, you have Radical Idea, you have Winged Words to help get you draw. So you'll be drawing them during your main phase to get that extra creature. And you also, Fairy Vandal is a nice addition, because whenever you're drawing a card, you could, if you have a resolved Improbable Alliance and you have this out, you get a +1/+1 counter, and you get a fairy token. In terms of we also have Jai's Greeting for removal and Lava Coil. I would like to, looking at this, he did have a hard time against Julian, because once Julian got a resolved Narset, it was really hard for Skyler to go forth with his plan, because Narset is just breaking him from drawing an additional card. We do have Murmuring Mystic and Saheeli. So what these two have in common is they also produce tokens. So whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you get a 1/1 bird illusion token, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get a 1/1 colorless serval token. We do have Flame Sweep to kind of answer the aggro match against the aggro matchups, and then one of our payoffs is the Crackling Drake. Double blue, double red for a 0/4. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and its power is based off the number of cards of instant or sorcery cards you own in your exile or in your graveyard. So this just gets big towards later in the game. And then if you have servos out and you have Saheeli, you can essentially use one of the tokens to copy Cracking Drake, and hopefully, depending on what the battlefield looks like, you can swing in for huge amounts of damage. We have his sideboard, 2 copies of Aether Gust, 2 copies of Negate, 2 Fries, a copy of Narset to answer the control decks, 1 copy of Selective Snare. Maybe adding copies of Scorching Fire will actually help this deck a lot, especially against Planeswalkers. Maybe some number of copies of Mystical Dispute to answer the red decks. Yeah. This is a very nice solid deck, and I look forward to see Skyler use this to great success. And yeah, congratulations to Skyler for making 3rd. And we have Liam rounding our top 4. Liam with tokens. So we did see Liam play tokens before when we were still running standard Pauper tournaments. So what this deck essentially does is it kind of runs off of Impassioned Orator and Daxel. So this is essentially something that one of the deck techs we did cover in one of our previous videos. So it's the Black-White Soul Brothers. This is just Liam's take on it. So you have some copies of Hateful Eidolon to gain life, Fruit of Tiziris to target player loses life. Excuse me. I'm not so sure about this card. I would want to see more removal. Omen of the Dead, flash when it enters the battlefield, return target creature you from your graveyard to your hand. So it's a nice way of getting back one of your life gain brothers, if you will. And this seems like he's kind of banking off of the token generators. So he has Lazotep Reaver. When it enters the battlefield, you amass for 1, so it makes a 1/1 token. Mar Triton, Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, you put 2 cards from your library to your graveyard and you gain 2 life. I'm not so sure about this card. It's a good card. Death Touch, essentially Death Touch is you wouldn't want to attack, or you wouldn't want to like have one of your big creatures block a Mar Triton, because essentially just Death Touch, especially hexproof creatures. Some number he has Timuret, chosen from death, devotion, its toughness equal to black, exile to 2 target cards from graveyard, you gain life. So essentially this is a lot of life gain what's going on. Disenchant to destroy any pacifism or any glass casket, any effect, any target art, any artifact or enchantment. This does hit cards like Hateful Eidolon, because where's that card? Hateful Eidolon, because it is an enchantment. It does hit Annex because it is an enchantment. 2 copies of Raise the Alarm, create 2 1/1 white soldier tokens. If he's going with the tokens, I would say upping it to 4 instead of 2. Revoke Existence, similar to Disenchant, you just, instead of destroying, you exile it. So this is a nice clean answer against Annex. Burst of Meletis, it is an enchantment. So this is one of the Saga cards. Saga cards was first introduced in Dominaria. So when it enters or during your draw step, you add a counter. So Chapter 1, you search your library for a Plains card, you reveal it and you put it into your hand, a basic Plains card, excuse me, and you put it to your hand and you shuffle your library. The second counter, you get a 0/4 colorless wall artifact creature with Defender, and level 3, you gain 2 life. So very nice with the life gain package. However, I feel like there's other options aside from the Birth of Meletis. Derviel, very... I probably should ask him why Derviel. I guess it's because it's disruption. So when it resolves, target player discards a card. I would say if he wants the disruption, I would say put in Agonizing Remorse. Let me see if Agonizing Remorse. So what this does, let me remove that. Agonizing Remorse, target opponent reveals their hand, they choose a non-land card and that from it, or a card from their graveyard. They exile that card and you lose a life. You do pay a life, but then you remove a threat from your opponent's hand or graveyard. All right. Elspeth's Nightmare. Again, I think this is more for disruption. Destroy target creature with an opponent controls with 2 or less. Target player reveals a hand, non-creature card, so like a duress. And level 3, you exile opponent's graveyard. I feel like there are other options. There's more like removal spells that you can use for disruption. Minions return, flash when it dies, it returns to the battlefield under your control. So this card, it's kind of hard because what I've seen him do is he'll flash it on an opposing creature, but then he will not have anything to remove it. So maybe Copies of Murder could be a great option. I believe there is Drag to the Underworld. Let's see if I can find it. Drag to the Underworld. Drag to the Underworld. 2 colorless, 2 black for an instant. This called Exilus for exit your devotion. This destroy target creature. Maybe with this deck, I think the better option would be Murder. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but essentially you would just want to put more creature removal. Farika's Libation, nice addition. It's a nice card from Theros Beyond Death. Target opponent sacrifices a creature or an enchantment. So there's this. You can either use it to like against control if they only have like Night Veil Predator. You force them to sacrifice it. But yeah, I see one copy, maybe upping it to another copy. A copy of Glory Bearers. Creatures will get 0 plus 1 until on a turn. I would say if he's going with the life gain, maybe going with Twin Blade Paladin. So maybe when you gain life, you get you put a counter on it. So it's more value. It's essentially you want to put more value into a life gain. That's to your payoff. Charm Surge removal. Destroy target creature power 4 or greater. You gain 3 life. Ill-Gotten Inheritance, nice piece against other aggro decks, but I feel like there's really a lot more options he can use for the life gain. I haven't seen him. I would think he would put Sworn Companions if he's going for the tokens approach. Sworn Companions, 2 colorless, 1 white. You create 2 soldier tokens with lifelink. So it helps out the Soul Brothers. They come in, you're gaining 2. Or another card would be what is that card? Let me see if I can find that. It was in the Soul Brothers deck. Angel Vitality. So basically what you do, you gain a life 1. You gain that much plus 1 more anytime you gain life. Yeah. So yeah, Angel Vitality. Grey Merchant of Death. You're still looking at the life gain. Final Death, nice removal. But I feel like with how the Artisan format is shaping, I think that you need something a bit more faster. Rumbling Sentry. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. It's a good card, but I feel like there's more Liam has more options, but he decided to go with Rumbling Sentry. And then we have Akron of Falling Stars. When it dies, you turn target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So looking at this, he could return a copy of Daxos. He could return a copy of Timuret, a copy of Hateful Eidolon, Ill-Gotten Inheritance. Glory Bearers. So he has a lot of targets for this when it dies, but I feel like in terms of enchantments, I think there are other options that he could utilize. Land base, he has 10 swamps and 11 plains. Congratulations to Liam for making top 4. We hopefully that he puts into consideration some of our advice to better develop this deck. This is a nice start to where he's going. But we look forward to seeing it evolve. All right, and lastly, the end boss deck. End boss deck was another copy of of Skyler's Improbable Alliance deck. On this, but what happened was I decided to put in Scorching Dragonfires. 4 copy of Flame Sweep instead of 3. But for the most part, the shell is the same. Sorry. Woo. So, yeah. Against, when talking to Julian, he felt that it was hard once you have a resolved Improbable Alliance and a Saheeli. Spells, even though like if he would have a Narset out, I would flash in Vandal and then and create tokens and just kind of just hitting the Narset. And aside, if he does have board wipes, what happens is as long as these two are out and there is no Narset, so again, Scorching Dragonfire, very good piece against Planeswalkers. So essentially what happens is this deck is gonna continue to generate tokens, and it's hard because I think there was a match where he had a resolved Revenge of Ravens, and it was just that because Crackling Drake is already coming in at X, like so much power, he was trying to find ways to answer them. So this deck actually goes wide against the control decks, but then with again I think Revenge of Raven just kind of slows it down just a little bit, because the 1/1 tokens that are generated from the Improbable Alliance, the Murmuring Mystic, and the Saheeli kind of just gets cancelled, because for each creature that attacks Revenge of Raven, it deals 1 damage to me, and he gains a life. So essentially they're just negating it. I'm just losing life and he's gaining life off of them. So like in this case, the optimal thing to do is just to keep hitting him with Crackling Drake or like a big Fairy Vandal. Sideboard is essentially the same as Skyler's, but yeah, this is our tournament recap video. Again, please keep a lookout on our Facebook, our YouTube channel. If you like the video, would like to see more stuff, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell. Click on the bell for more content, and yeah, we look forward to the next tournament recap. We'll see you later. Bye.